All right. Friday afternoon on DAZN, we got a title fight. Terri Harper versus Natasha Jonas. All right. This is a women's fight for the unified WBC and IBO World Super Featherweight titles. Okay. Harper is 10-0, and she's the favorite. She's the champion. And she won the IBO title in 2019, and she's defended it twice. All right. And sandwiched in between those defenses, she picked up the WBC belt. And now she faces Natasha Jonas, who's 9-1, and a winner of 3 straight since suffering her lone loss in 2018. Okay? This fight takes place in Eddie Hearn's backyard. Seriously. It goes down at the Matchroom Fight Camp at Hearn Towers. All right? This will mark the first time 2 British women fighters face off for recognized world titles. All right, so history will be made. Harper, the champion, she's got a very good jab, and they've moved her well, and she seems to get better each time out. Now, in this fight, a bit of controversy has arisen from both sides leading into this showdown. Excuse me, my voice is almost gone. And I'll talk about the controversies in a minute. But along with that jab, Harper, she's got good speed, and her intelligence in there is a strength, okay? Ring IQ, they call it, right? She's going to try to keep Jones at bay. And many say that Harper has more speed than Jonas, but I'm not so sure about that. Okay. She's 5'8.5" with a 65-inch reach. And while Harper has achieved more as a pro, she's only 23 years old, and she only had 17 amateur fights. That's the champion. On the flip side, Jonas had 75 amateur fights. And as an amateur, she won a bronze medal in the lightweight division at the AIBA World Championships. She won a bronze in the light welterweight division at the European Championships. And she won a silver in the light welterweight division in the 2014 European Championships. 3 years later. So Jonas took up boxing in 2005, and by 2010, she'd won 5 ABA championships. Okay? And she became the first ever British female boxer to compete in the Olympic Games. That's Jonas. She's a very heavy-handed southpaw, and it'll be interesting what she does in this fight. Okay? I believe she's quicker than Harper, and what she's going to want to do is get inside and get off and score. Let's get to the controversies, all right? The Jonas camp, specifically her trainer, Joe Gallagher, he claimed that Harper got knocked out cold in sparring, and that's why she stopped her sparring. Okay? She's been getting work with, she's had some men in her camp sparring. This we know. And as for Gallagher's claims, we don't know. What we do know is if Harper got knocked out cold in sparring, and if her brain is foggy on Friday afternoon from being concussed in sparring, what we know is one good shot from the hard-hitting Jones, and it'll be lights out. I'm telling you, she's a hard hitter, Jonas. I keep saying Jonas, I'm sorry. So, the Harper team, of course, they're denying that she got iced in sparring. So they clapped back and said Jonas has stamina issues and that she struggles at the 4-round mark. And Jonas's team is denying that. So the way I see this fight playing out is Jonas will try to carry the fight fast. I think she's going to try to carry it fast. Weave a little bit, get inside. And she may have some success early on as Harper tries to figure out the puzzle, so to speak. Jonas's best bet is to attack early and try to catch Harper with something, as she's the big puncher. That's what Jonas should do, try to crack her. The problem is when Jonas comes in, she, in fights that I've seen, she uses the same 1-2 and sometimes 1-2-3, just the same pattern over and over. I see that happening, and then I see Harper eventually timing her and catching her. But it should be a good scrap with plenty of action. So I'm going to go with Harper in this one by clear decision. Or if Jonas really tries to push her, I think Harper might turn it up late and get a mid to late round stoppage, catching her coming in and timing her. That's how I see it. On the undercard, we got Anthony Fowler, 12-1, 9 knockouts, taking on former English champion and Commonwealth title challenger Adam Harper, 9-1. Okay, this is a super welterweight or junior middleweight bout. All right. Anthony Fowler has won 3 straight since a razor-thin decision loss to Scott Fitzgerald in 2019, early. Harper, on the other hand, he hasn't fought since September 2018 when he won the English title by majority decision. And it's funny, he won that, and actually he's coming out of retirement to face Fowler. If you haven't fought in 2 years, that's a mini retirement. And with that in mind, I just don't see Harper lasting in this fight. I think Fowler gets him out. And if he does, he's going to call out Fitzgerald for the rematch. Okay? Fitzgerald won that fight with 2 95-94 scorecards. And Fowler won 96-94 on the other card. All right? So so he wants the Fitzgerald fight badly. I mean, he thought he won. Fitzgerald figured he won, which he did. And so we'll see. We'll see. This fight takes place in Eddie Hearn's backyard. Seriously. It goes down at the Matchroom Fight Camp at Hearn Towers. Okay. Also, there's a very interesting cruiserweight fight between Chris Billam-Smith, who defends his Commonwealth crown for the first time against Cardiff's Nathan Thorley, 14-0, 6 knockouts. Okay. So the hard-hitting Billam-Smith, he's 10-1 with 9 knockouts. His only loss was a split decision loss in 2019. Okay. And then he bounced back with a win in November of last year. Okay. And that's how he got his Commonwealth crown. And so now he's back to defend. First title defense. Thorley is 14-0, 6 knockouts. And this fight might be very exciting if Thorley brings the fight. The way I see it is I think this fight might be similar to the main event. I believe that Billam-Smith's professional experience and power may be a bit too much for Thorley right now. And oddly enough, it's Thorley who's very sound, technically speaking, and has an excellent jab. Fundamentally sound, or technically sound, if you will, excellent jab. He throws a variety of combinations, and he takes whatever the opponent gives him. And Billam-Smith, I think, can be hit in this fight. The problem is, if you get in to hit, you better get out so you don't. Okay? And I just think this fight comes down to experience. And not only does Billam-Smith have that advantage, but Thorley spent most of his time at light heavy. And this is a cruiserweight fight, so most of Thorley's career has been at light heavyweight. He's only fought a few times at cruiserweight. So I'm gonna go with Billam-Smith. And then there's a couple of other fights on the card, but that's the DAZN's card. Friday afternoon, 2 p.m. Eastern, with the main event scheduled for 5 p.m. Eastern, live on DAZN from Eddie Hearn's backyard. Seriously, it goes down at the Matchroom Fight Camp at Hearn Towers. Don't miss it. All right? Now, on Saturday, on Fox, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern, we got Jamal James taking on Tomas Dulorme for the interim WBA welterweight title, whatever that means. Okay? Jamal James is 26-1, 12 knockouts. Tomas Dulorme is 25 wins, 3 losses, 1 draw with 16 knockouts. Now, this fight was originally going to take place in James's hometown of Minneapolis, where I don't know if you've ever seen Jamal James fight at home, but the crowd, it's just a boisterous crowd. I mean, it's bananas in there. And so it got rescheduled, and then it got postponed a second time. So now, third time, hopefully a charm. Now the fight will go down away from home in Los Angeles. Okay, some 2,000 miles away. And the question is, will that affect Jamal? Not only is he going to be 2,000 miles away, but he doesn't have that crowd, that crazy crowd. If you go back and look at some of Jamal James' fights, when he's fighting in Minneapolis, the crowd is crazy. Boxing starved fans. It's not exactly a hotbed of boxing, so when they have it, they come out. Kind of like Omaha, right? Jamal James has won 6 in a row since his lone loss to Yordenis Ugas. Okay, he's been in there with Antonio DeBarco, Abel Ramos, Diego Chavez, Javier Molina, and Wale Omatoso, excuse me. The guy that upset Curtis Stevens. Dulorme has been in there with Terrence Crawford, Jesse Vargas, Yordenis Ugas, Henry Lundy, Kareem Mayfield, Chop Corley, and Luis Carlos Abregu. This is a good matchup, man. I mean, I'm looking forward to this one. It's just, on paper, it's just even. Okay, and now the book on Dulorme is that he starts out quickly, and then as the rounds go on, he fades, and his output decreases. And then you take over, all right? He's there for the taking. Jamal James is lanky at 6'2", but like a Tommy Hearn 6'2", okay? Rangy. But he gives himself up sometimes and allows opponents to work. You know, he lets them work. Oddly enough, Dulorme at 5'9" or 5'10" has a small reach advantage over James. So that's what makes this a good one. Both guys are vulnerable. We just don't know. Now, Jamal James should win, but Dulorme will be game. And this could go to the cards and be close, like with maybe a knockdown being the difference, one of those type things. I'll say this. If the Jamal James who fought Ugas meets the Tomas Dulorme who fought Ugas, then Dulorme pulls off the upset because he fought Dulorme better, much better. And but the thing is, as we know, boxing is not triangular. I think there's going to be some fireworks in this fight. You guys make sure you catch this. Both guys know how to bring the offense. And I think either or both can be dropped. I'm going with Dulorme by upset in this one. Jamal James should win, as he's been on a roll and he has more to gain and more left in the tank. But I'm going with Dulorme in the upset. All right. Also on the bill is a super middleweight matchup between Lennox Allen, 22-0, 22-0-1, with 14 knockouts, versus Osvary David Morrell Jr. They'll probably drop the Osvary and probably will drop the Junior. So fair enough. Let's call him David Morrell. And check this out. He's 2-0 with 2 knockouts. All right. So he's on some old Lomachenko type of thing. This is also for an interim WBA belt, whatever that means. Lennox Allen is a decent fighter. I mean, he's been in there with the super tough Michael Benga. He's also beaten Nick Brinson. And he's had a draw with the upset specialist, Darnell Boone. And his last time out, he beat Derek Webster. This fight is interesting. You got 2 southpaws, and while Allen is a veteran of 23 fights, Morrell only has 2 pro fights. But Morrell was 130-2 as an amateur, okay? He's a Cuban lefty, and he's only 22 years old. So I'm not sure why there's a rush here. But maybe they feel Lennox is as beatable as it gets at this level, and so they're just going for it. Morrell likes to stalk people and attack people like he's Mike Tyson or something, but I'm not sure Morrell's power translates at the weight as well as he thinks. With that in mind, I'm not sure how this goes. I want to take Allen in this fight, but I suspect Morrell may wear him down in this one. Okay, he won't get the early knockout. At least I don't think. I think he'll have to work his way to a decision or work hard for like a TKO type thing where the referee kind of jumps in, whether prematurely or not. You know how that goes. Okay, so mothers on the card are Mikkel Fox, who I believe will step into the main event should something go wrong with either fighter. Okay, Fox is 22-1, a hard worker, not that much power. He's 6'4", which is, if you think Jamal James is lanky, I mean, Mikkel is 6'4", paper thin. Some people call him Michael. He's from this out of the Maryland, near Washington, D.C. area. He's got some brothers that fight too. I really hope Fox keeps his scheduled matchup and continues to develop. I'd favor either guy in the main event against him if it's a situation where they have to swap opponents or what have you. All right. And so the fights on Fox, once they're complete, like the main event and whatever else, they move to Fox Sports 1 after the main event. So make sure you take note of that, okay? And you got Omar Juarez, Vito Mielnicki Jr., Jose Valenzuela also on the card. Now, Mielnicki made his debut at Top Rank just not too long ago. But he was recently signed by Premier. So there's a little swap there. Speaking of that, former Premier fighter, heavyweight Ife Ajagba signed a deal with Top Rank. And he also dropped trainer Ronnie Shields. So maybe this heavyweight tournament they're talking about is, man, maybe it's real. Speaking of heavyweights, also on the Premier undercard, there are 2 undefeated heavyweights. Luis Eduardo Pena, 6-0, all 6 by knockout, takes on Michael Polite Coffey, 9-0, 6 knockouts. Pena kind of comes in with a Fernando Vargas stance, but I'm not sure. No. I am sure his power won't be elite level stuff. Okay. Polite Coffey is older at age 34 and is brought in to push the prospect here, Pena. Okay. I think he will push Pena, and I'm calling another upset. I like Coffey in a fun fight that ends in knockout before the 5th round. So make sure you check out these fights on Fox and Fox Sports 1, beginning at 8 p.m. Saturday. The DAZN fights begin at 2 p.m. Friday, with the main event around 5:30 or so between the 2 women. So that's what we have this weekend. Boxing's coming back. We should be rolling between now and kind of November-ish, once they start adding other fights. Or, well, you might as well say for the rest of the year. A week off here and there, unless some fights are added, and then you'll have the conflicting stuff, of course. The good news with the zone is that if Premier or Top Rank have a fight on a Saturday night, the good news is the zone's fights across the river, across the ocean, I should say, their main events average about maybe 6 p.m. Eastern time. And then when that's over, you can jump right into your other programming with Fox Sports 1, Top Rank, so on and so forth. So hopefully we won't get the counter programming we got as we did for years with Showtime and HBO. But sometimes it's going to happen that way. There's a fight the same night as the Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr. So we'll see. We'll see how it works. Anyway, all right, so check it out Friday afternoon and Saturday evening. We catch you on the next one.